Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. So with the big matchup between the El Dorado Eagles and the La Cueva Bears, time to make my pick here on the Proview Rundown. I'm going to go with the El Dorado Eagles. You know, I'm going to change my decision, and I'm going to go with the La Cueva Bears. They're feeling it. All right, hey, calm down. Guys, you do it every time. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to be in makeup.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And welcome everybody here to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Coletti. Ed Nunez will join us here shortly. We are talking high school football. Lots of football action last week. Yes, football is back and the football season in full force here in the state of New Mexico. We have a special guest right now, and he is the head coach of the West Mesa Mustangs football team, Ron McMath. And Ron, you had a big victory last week against Del Norte. Congratulations, first off.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. We appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about how big the opening week at Newsenda Community Stadium is. This year you had the Thursday game, and you were by yourself playing. You were the only game in town.
Right. It's always nice to be a featured team, you know, where everybody in the city's watching. You know, it's nice the way they kick it off. We've been the Wednesday game before. We've been the late Friday night game before. Right. We've been the Saturday afternoon game. So, you know, we've kind of got them all. And, yeah, it's a fun way to start the football season.
Well, going into the game, Steve Davis and I talked to you before the game down on the field, and you were excited, but at the same time, you weren't sure what you had. Now that the game has passed, what do you have?
We know we have a quarterback that's a dual threat guy, that he can throw the ball on the run really well, and he's very elusive. He has quick feet, and we knew we were going to have some good receivers. I think the biggest questions for us was our defense. And, you know, we gave up some yards early in the game, but our defense really kind of stepped up when they got in the red zone, and we created some huge turnovers. And I think that was the biggest pleasant surprise for us, was how our defense played when it was really had their back against the wall.
Let's skip forward and look at the Del Norte West Mesa game footage here. The highlights here, as it was quite a game, and like you said, your dual threat quarterback, he was all over the place.
He sure was. You know, the first touchdown he had was kind of a broken play. They blitzed, and we didn't pick it up very well, and he pulled the ball and went the opposite way. And we knew then that, you know, if he can make those big plays for us, then we're going to be all right.
Absolutely. So it was a big win over Del Norte last Thursday at Newsenda Community Stadium, and one of the, I guess, bad parts of that game, Brandon Bolden getting ejected.
Yeah, you know, Brennan, said some things he shouldn't have said, and hopefully he learned a lesson. You know, what was good for us was that we didn't really, you know, it didn't affect our play the rest of the game. I think the kids just kind of, you know, went on, and we know we have kind of a mantra, it's next man up, and so we filled in for them, and we just kept playing.
Take a look at the highlights here, Coach, and it was big pass to Brandon Bolden. I'll tell you what, actually, that was the interception, so
Right.
it was a big pick by Bolden. Later on, he would come up with a touchdown, but it was a key loss because he was having such a great game.
Yeah, he made that one huge play for us on the side, and he's always our red zone guy, you know, that we'd like to throw it to in the end zone. And it is a loss, but we have some other receivers that could come in and play. You know, Cameron Schreier made some great catches for us, and we have some other guys that can play as well, so we were able to overcome that.
Tell the folks what you've seen right here, Coach.
I think we're down on the goal line where this is Brandon. If you see him, he strips the ball, and then Aaron Montano picks it up. And that was a huge play for us because it kept him out of the end zone, and then we ended up going 97 yards after that. Here's Brandon making a move and getting down the sideline. You know, he's got some speed and he's got some moves. He's a big kid. He has good hands. And, you know, we'll miss him this week against St. Pius, but hopefully he's learned a good lesson and he'll come back stronger in the future.
Yeah, it's a problem. He has to miss another game, and here's another nice play. Up the ladder catch by Cameron Schreier. Basketball play.
Yep, he's a good basketball player, and he kind of tipped it up and got his own rebound, you know, and he was able to get it. That actually wasn't an onside kick right there. That was a squib kick, and it just happened to turn out lucky for us that we got back. This first play of the second half for them, and Damian Altamirano picks it off. Almost got into the end zone. You know, big kid that can run well. And then here's Gabe Ramirez just doing what he does, find a little crease, stick his head down, and gets into the end zone for his, I think he rushed for 2 and 3 for 3 and threw for 3 touchdowns in the game, and there was one to Cameron Schreier as well.
So overall, how pleased were you with the effort, especially on the defensive front? Your team.
That's kind of what we've been preaching to them all year is we don't have defensive superstars, and we got to get 11 guys to the ball every time, and our coaches were really happy with that.
One of the things that you did that was a class act, and you've had a couple of class acts with this young man, Elijah Demas, suffering from cancer. You had him as an honorary captain before the game. Steve and I got to meet him before the game. It was huge for your team, wasn't it?
He's a special young man, and one of my assistant coaches, Melvin Archibald, and his wife kind of came up with this idea to have him as an honorary captain, and we were you know, really happy to have that. We worked with his family. He came out and he was dressed in his full uniform. He had shoulder pads, helmet, and the whole deal. And he came out on the coin flip, and he was actually in the locker room pregame, halftime. He was there with the team afterwards, and we want to make him feel as much a part of the team as possible because we want to support him in his journey to try to beat this cancer.
About a week or so before that, he had scored a touchdown in the Apple game. That was really nice.
And that's where we kind of saw it. You know, I saw it on the news, and my coaches saw it, and we just thought because he was a West Mesa guy, and you know, that we want to get him in there and show him that West Mesa High School is behind him, and we're going to try to help him beat this thing.
Coming up this week, St. Pius is the opponent. You mentioned playing without Brandon Bolden. How tough of an assignment is this going to be? Oh,
it's going to be tough. You know, I mean, they were returning state champions in 5A. You know, they've lost some players from that, but they kind of reloaded, and we watched them last week. They have a good quarterback. They have good receivers. They're going to be a tough team. You know, we really try to worry about us more than we try to worry about our opponents. We want to play as good as we can. And, you know, if we don't end up on the right side of things, then that's okay because we're getting ready for district. But we feel like we have a chance if we get out there and don't turn over the ball like we did this past week.
By the way, there you look at Elijah Demas in that football game. That was, when I first saw this, I mean, it's a tearjerker.
It is. It's a special moment, and, you know, that's a great opportunity for that young man to experience something that he may not ever get to do again. And, you know, we're behind him all the way. And, you know, you can see his teammates, his coach, Vic Aguilar, he does a great job with them. You know, his parents are there supporting him. All those Yaffle kids were all at the game as well the other night, and they were rooting him on. And it was a special moment.
Yeah, and I know just looking at him and his father's face, they were all beaming at the beginning of the game before your game against Del Norte. So very, very classy touch on your part and on West Mesa's part.
Well, we appreciate that. You know, we try to show our support for the community, and so it's not always about winning or losing, but it's about what we can do for these kids and trying to help people out.
Well, Coach, want to thank you as always for joining us here. We'll have you here down the road.
All right.
Best of luck this week.
Thanks for having us
and throughout
on.
the year.
We appreciate your support. We appreciate you covering high school football.
Ron McMath, the head coach of the West Mesa Mustangs, our guest. We'll come back in just a moment with more on the sports desk, but first, the top 10 plays of the week.
Red snap. And it looks, he's got some wheels. Look at Wysong go. He turns around and looks, and he's in for the touchdown. Doesn't look like there's any laundry littering the field.
Teams looking gray and Island in a color rush, do we say, in all yellow. There's a throw out to the end zone, and that's caught. Touchdown, Volcano Vista North. That's a beautiful catch out there.
Long throw, and it's going to be out of bounds.
So this is big time stuff. DeAndre Williams had the reception. Look at this, a screen in the right time. Just a lot of room across the 40-yard line to the 30. It's a foot race to the end zone all the way. Touchdown.
For the state champs, they're going to be victorious here on opening night. Russell still on his feet. A late touchdown for Savion. It's his third of the day.
Wow, that was great.
I'm with you. So, Glacier, he's got plenty of time. Glacier rolling, now firing. Nice. That's complete. And there's some more. A block at the 10, to the 5, leaping to the end zone. Touchdown.
He's a busy guy. End over end, kick short. Roy Ball fields at about the 25-yard line. Little bit of a hole. That's what Roe Young might go to the house here. One man to beat.
Yeah, you're not going to catch him. You're not going to catch
Roe
him.
Young will return the kickoff. Looks back. I don't know why he's doing it. Look at that separation. One and oh, he brought it in.
First and 10 at midfield. Swing pass on the near side. Bolden gets to the outside. Look out, Brandon Bolden. One man to beat. And is he still on his feet? Yes, he is in bounds, and that is a touchdown for Westmead.
And he's going to, that's a midline option again, and a nice play there by Hayden. And he's got he can go all the way. Is he going to get there? Touchdown, Sandy.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters! It's like it never happened!
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, #life change will occur.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf dart tag games from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. All day with you two, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. Scott Galletti, joined by Ed Nunez, the man on my left, Alden Iowani, along with Josh Brown, our co-directors. Josh got us going, and Alden now bringing us the rest of the way. And we are joined by the producer for me on high school sports when I do games on ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team, and he is none other than Mike Bird, also does the Locker Room Show each and every day, Monday through Friday. And thought we'd have you on, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm grateful to be here. It's my first time down at Proview, and really, really impressed by the place. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Well, first of all, I got to ask you, because the talk on the radio station was about the fight, your impressions on the Mayweather-McGregor fight?
You know, I mean, I think I was in a really interesting place to watch the fight simply because I didn't grow up as a boxing fan. The first boxing match I ever watched was Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. So I think this is one of those special events where you kind of went into it, or at least I went into it with a event mentality, like I was taking in a concert or a wrestling match. I couldn't break it down the way a boxing aficionado could. So to me, it was really entertaining. It was about what I expected. If Conor McGregor didn't knock out Floyd in the first 3 rounds, he wasn't going to, because he was going to get gassed and get tired. But I thought Floyd did a good job of keeping Conor in the fight. I really do believe that Floyd could enter that fight any given time that he wanted to. And I thought that he let it roll into the 10th round and made it very entertaining for everybody that bought. And it was impressive to me. I was impressed by Conor's ability to look as much like a boxer as possible, given the lack of time that he's had to train to be a boxer. All in all, it was a fun time. The party I was at was a great event. It was fantastic.
Your thoughts?
You know, I heard you talking about the party yesterday, Mike, on the show. You know, I listened on the way home from work. Bob's a very good friend of mine, been a mentor to me, with utmost respect for him. But I remember when you said that about, you know, the party you were doing, or somebody said something or brought some food to you and Bob made a joke. But I think I have kind of the same impressions. I'm a big boxing guy. That's how I started, was watching with my dad. My dad was a big boxing fan. So to this day, I'm more of a boxing fan than I am MMA. But I looked at that and I was thinking to myself, I was watching the first couple rounds, and usually Floyd will counterpunch a lot, and he just was covering up, because usually if you hit him, so he'll boom, boom, and you won't come in like that. He'll make sure you don't, because he does have more power than people think. So he was letting Conor kind of dictate the pace, and as you said, he did have a plan. And I'll give him this: I'm not a Mayweather fan. I'm not. I've purchased many fights, Maidana, Victor Ortiz, hoping somebody would beat him. And you know, I've put money in his coffers, man. You know, not a lot, but enough. So you know, I'll give it to McGregor a little bit. You know, he did catch him with a good uppercut in the first round, but after that, and I had said this, you know, we did a show on 610 on Saturday, and I said, stamina-wise, after the 5th, we'll see. And you could already tell he was pushing his punches. He had no snap to him anymore. And he's not a boxer. He's not. So anybody that, and I said this, I said he had no chance, and he really, Floyd let him have a chance. He made that fight competitive, because as you said, he could have ended that fight any single time he won. He toyed with him, and he should. He's fought 1 million rounds in boxing. McGregor's a cage guy. Give him credit. They made it entertaining. You know, I'll say this, and I heard on the ESPN radio this morning that you know, somebody said I liked it better than the Pacquiao fight. So did I. That Pacquiao fight was horrible, and it was 7 years past its prime anyway. So I think those are my thoughts, and I'll give McGregor some credit, because he did last longer than people thought. But again, Floyd made it that way. He could have ended that, and you know, and I heard a lot of your calls yesterday. He could have ended that anytime he wanted. So those were my thoughts. But at least, you know, I didn't pay for the fight. I went, because usually, you know, people come to my house.
Right. But, I didn't have to pay for it either, so it made it even better.
Right. So that's one of those pass the hat fights, Mike. People come over, it's like, okay, for $100, pass the hat.
Right.
Normally, I'll eat that one, but this one here, I went somewhere else, and I did enjoy it.
Well, let's switch gears to high school sports now, as football season started last week, and this is when you and I get to spend a lot of time on the radio, and then Ed and everyone else and I get to spend time on TV here at Proview Networks. And you know, it's a busy time of year, and it's fun. We already had our first weather delay last week.
Right.
It rained, but it was more lightning, and you reminded me that same thing happened pretty much about the same time a year ago last year on a Wednesday.
I feel like if you're in this business and you're covering high school sports or college sports or AAA baseball, it's a rite of passage to have your first lightning delay. And if it doesn't happen in the first week, you're probably going to get gypped the rest of the season. You're probably going to have several. I mean, last year we made it out, I think, with like 2 the whole year.
Right.
So I'm hoping that's the same case this year. So we just got it out of the way, and we probably won't have to deal with that anymore for the rest of the way. Maybe have a couple of cold games when we get into October, November, but yeah, you and I are locked in till really March, till we get through the state high school basketball tournament, if you want to look that far ahead.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Let's look at the schedule of last week, the results, and there were a lot of games last week, a lot more this week, because some teams did not play in week number 1, if you will. There's 11 weeks in the season. There you see some of the results. Manzano with a win, West Mesa, Sandia, Cleveland, Las Cruces, all winners. Move to the next page here on our scores, and Los Lunas, well, it doesn't look like they're showing any ill effects from last year, losing a lot of players. 60 points on the board. How about Rio Rancho? Speaking of a team that is in midseason form and looks a lot like the team under Easton Barrera. They're pass, and then, oh, by the way, we'll run sometime. Valencia, Belen, Gallup, Moriarty, and La Cueva all victorious. And then the Saturday games, there were a couple of games on Saturday in week number 1, and we'll look at those here shortly. And there we go. Hope Christian over Academy. Centennial big over Albuquerque High and Volcano Vista. I was at that game watching and kind of scouting, getting ready for this week. 48-20 over Valley, so that was pretty impressive.
I'll tell you what, Volcano Vista, I always say that they're on the cusp of being right there with Cleveland and Rio Rancho as far as West Side power. And, you know, they lost, I told you, I mentioned this, Chris Streets, Abraham Shaps, David Cormier, Dylan Gasaway, they lost a lot. But their assistant coach told me they still have a lot of speed. And I think it's different when you're inexperienced. But they went out there and put 48 points on Judge Chavez's Valley Vikings, who I thought might come out a little bit stronger second year for Judge Chavez and being back at Valley. He never was a head coach there, but he's a Valley alum. So a little bit surprised there that Valley didn't put up a little bit better effort. But then again, Volcano Vista, Scott, as we said, they're always right there on the cusp of being a powerhouse.
Let's move ahead at the highlights now. We'll go first with Manzano at Atrisco. Those highlights, and Manzano opened up the year. You look at the score there, 48-26, and this was a game that was delayed by lightning. About 45 minutes, I'd say, all total was that delay.
Yeah, I think, you know, we had scheduled kickoff for 7, and we finally got to it. When we got to start the game, and then we had a delay, and we got back to play around 8:15. And I was really, really impressed by the game. I don't know what I expected necessarily, but it turned into a little bit of a track meet for a little while. And we were fortunate enough to get back to Dodgers in a dang near perfect game while we got through the lightning layover. But the football was just fantastic.
Big run here that got Atrisco Heritage the lead, actually, but that wouldn't last long as Alejandro Vallejos had a game.
You know what, Xavier Ivory Sod out of the lineup as we thought he might be, but when you have a guy like Vallejos and Jordan Bird and Erickson and all the weapons they have, you're still going to be just fine.
Atrisco Heritage hung with Manzano for a little bit, but then they got worn down by this big Manzano line, both on offense and defense, and the offense was just unstoppable throughout the game pretty much.
I expect that to be the case all year long. I don't know who's going to stop them, maybe Rio Rancho or Cleveland, some of the upper echelon teams in 6A. Manzano, as we mentioned, Scott, they're loaded.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you got Jordan Bird, a quarterback, doing things like this, that's a double whammy.
Well, I think the interesting thing about this game is Jordan Bird wasn't really mentioned until late in the game. Vallejos had done most of the work for that team, and then it was almost like the complication with Jordan Bird is you know he's coming, you know you're going to get a healthy dose of him, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's just going to beat you. Until a team finds a way to stop him, it's just going to be a pain in the butt for anybody that's got to compete against him, because what do you do to stop him?
And then this was last year's backup quarterback, Dakota Powell. You got him running out of the backfield as well. So.
I'll tell you what, that's another weapon you have to account for.
Yeah, and a guy who can throw, let alone run. So a late touchdown for Atrisco Heritage, and this team wouldn't quit, but they were just outclassed on this particular night against Manzano.
They have a lot of returning players there. Avidra is the quarterback.
They're going to be a factor in their district.
Angel Ramirez rushed for 215 or 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. I really like the edge speed that he has. The problem that they had last year was penalties, and they turned the ball over, I believe, I don't know how many times on Wednesday night, but they turned the ball over 2 or 3 times, and you can't do that against a team like Manzano.
And you mentioned Mike Bird, Jordan Bird. We weren't talking about him until late in the game, but look at his numbers.
That's what's so impressive about it is, I mean, I really don't think, and I don't want to say that it wasn't a full effort, but they didn't need to utilize Jordan Bird, so they didn't even really show. Everybody in Albuquerque and everybody in the state of New Mexico knows what he's capable of, but that really is a small stat line for a player that has the ability that Jordan Bird does.
Fast forward to a couple of Friday games. We'll start with Mayfield and Rio Rancho, and this was a big win for Rio Rancho. Mayfield also got some late touchdowns to make it respectable, but Rio Rancho, Logan Bruer, 331 passing yards and 6 touchdowns, and Austin Heiss and Derek Reyes, they were just unstoppable.
Well, you know, we mentioned that Josh Foley has graduated, but their passing attack and Coach Bruer, the offensive coordinator, every game, the offensive blueprint that they have, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, and here Logan Bruer showing a good arm, and I'll tell you what, he's got a cannon.
I saw that last year when he came in for Nick Little a couple of times. I was impressed.
and he's gotten a little better at throwing off of his back foot, because last year he would throw off his back foot if he got a chance to play, but he didn't get many chances to play. But now that he's worked on it, you can tell he's a little more refined. And
look at that,
look at that one-handed catch by Austin Heiss. That was, I called it a Sports Center catch.
And it was. Austin Heiss had arguably one of the best games in the metro area on Friday night. 3 touchdowns he received. He was part of everything that Rio Rancho was doing early in the game. The thing that's so impressive and surprising about Rio Rancho is they really don't have a ground game right now. They are not running the ball efficiently, and you would expect a team like Mayfield, a known state power, to be able to do something against that offense in terms of throwing. But Rio Rancho has 4 guys catching the football right now that are just statistically huge. They weigh a lot. They're very tall. And Rio Rancho is going to be another tough out this season.
Well, here's the thing, Ed. I don't know if you realize this, but Joe O'Malley and Derek Reyes, they're listed as tight ends. They were lining them up as wideouts.
And, you know, if you think about that, O'Malley also plays basketball, as does Reyes. I wouldn't.
I don't think they set up a tight end.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe because O'Malley's strong. I don't look at him as wide receiver speed, but that's impressive.
Yeah,
impressive.
They were wide the entire day, and that's what tells you about the blocking too, because they didn't need those tight ends blocking.
Right. That tells me a whole bunch. Nice run there.
So it's pretty amazing. But Mayfield, they're going to be a factor in District 3 this year, but Rio Rancho just too much, and it's going to be an air attack for the Rio Rancho Rams. As long as they stay healthy, they're going to be a force. And you see Rio Rancho with 435 yards overall, 347 of those passing.
So like I said, Rio Rancho is not running the ball effectively right now. If they can find any wrinkle in their offense to get some semblance of a ground attack, that'll make them all the better. They really open up the rest of the offense for Logan Barrera and everybody on that team.
A game that finished long after that Mayfield-Rio Rancho game, and that was La Cueva-Cibola. I think Adam Deal got out of there around 11:30 or something like that on Friday night, and we were already enjoying wings over at a local establishment after the game. But La Cueva, 42-8. What a big win that was for them. And I'll tell you what, Dylan Summer, 17-35, 362 yards, 4 TDs for a La Cueva record.
He was just named the starter Wednesday. That surprised me. He had a record in his first start. So Brandon Back made a great choice there in naming Summer the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and you saw on that first pass what kind of arm he has with accuracy, and La Cueva just kept pounding away. And when you got little passes like that to go for big yards, that's going to be a major key out also.
Yeah, no question. And again, their defense is senior heavy and very good. So they held Cibola to 8 points? Is that what they held them to?
Yeah.
Yeah, so big victory for the Bears in their opener.
Yeah, and Wilkinson, I remember him from last year and the year before for that matter, very talented receiver.
Oh, yes.
So La Cueva took a 28-8 lead, and then they just kept pounding, and that was your final score, 42-8. Cibola with Marcus Steele as their junior quarterback, but Wilkinson, 295 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 75 yards rushing.
Well, I'll tell you what, for Wilkinson, for some players, that's a career, man. That's one game. That's really something else.
Yeah, it's a pretty good night there. So those were the highlights, and those were the scores of last week's games. Ed, you've been in this a long time. Anything stand out to you? Anything surprise? There really weren't any surprising games.
Well, I had Cleveland and Oñate, and at first, Oñate with the new coach, new spread offense, they kind of, they held the ball a lot. They hogged the ball in the first quarter, and that spread offense was driving. Then they turned it over a couple times in the red zone. Then after that, second quarter, the Cleveland defensive coordinator made an adjustment, started bringing pressure off the edge, and the Oñate offensive line had problems with that. And remember, they went from a ground-heavy game to to a spread offense. And I asked Coach Velez before the game, how has that been for your offensive line? It's a big change, and he thought it was good, that they'd been. But then when you get pressure, the Storm. And Roger Holian said this, they've got a culture of winning there. They expect to win. And then their offensive and defensive fronts are dominant. And they've got good skill positions. So after a while, the ball, Oñate turned it over 3 more times in the second quarter, and the floodgates open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like that.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. We'll keep Mike Burt over one more segment. Mike Burt from ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team. I'm Scott Colletti along with Ed Nunez, and you're watching the Sports Desk.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
Altitude Sports Grill is where Albuquerque's sports fans won't miss a game. With locally crafted brews on tap and refreshingly crisp cocktails. Located in Hotel Cascada, Albuquerque residents find a staycation worth staying for. Catching Lobo sports, enjoying a beer on the beach, or wiping out, Hotel Cascada is home to your urban adventure. Affordable guest rooms, no hassle water park parties, and much more.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewnetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
You know, we try to let all of our interns do everything here at Proview Sports Network. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Hey everybody, welcome to the Proview Rundown. I'm Adam Deal. What a big week in football, week 3. As you all know, cut. Come on, this Eagle, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez, and we are joined by Mike Burt from ESPN Radio 1017, The Team, the guy who is behind the glass, if you will, that no one sees. So we figured we'd let you be seen here for a change. We had Bob on, what was it, about a month ago we had Bob on? So figured we'd have Bob's other half on.
And now everybody can see I truly do have a face for radio.
And you do exist, too.
I am a real person.
A lot of people ask, is he real? I've never seen him before.
I mean, I really don't leave the studio very often. It doesn't matter if we're doing the locker room. I'm responsible for high school football, Lobo baseball. I rarely leave the confines of the studio. So I do not get to go out and really mingle with our listeners and hang out and meet everybody the way that some of the other staffers get to.
Really quickly, I wanted to get into this, though, because one event that you were able to get out of the studio and go to was Brian Urlacher's celebrity dinner.
Yes, yeah, and that was amazing. I mean, this is the second year we did it, and I mean, it's just, you never know when you're going to meet somebody that caliber of a star, whether it was collegiate star, pro football star, and Brian has got nothing but love for his home state of New Mexico, and he's always so good to everybody that comes out. He will stay until the wee hours of the night, signing things, talking, sharing stories. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. I was fortunate enough to get to golf the next day as well, and that guy can rope a golf ball.
Yes, he can.
Not very accurate all the time, but he can hit it long.
And, you know, one of the things that everybody who was at that event last year and this year, the first thing that they say is what a real person he is.
It's funny because you hear something like that.
It's not a cliche. No. You think, oh yeah, there's got to be a catch or something. Not with him.
Well, and you're so used to so many people putting on the Ritz and putting on the song and dance and just smiling and shaking hands and kissing babies, and he's just going to tell you how it is. I mean, and he'll tell you, I'm not going to answer that question because somebody's got a camera out here and I don't want to answer that question. I'll tell you later in private, and that's not him being a jerk. That's just knowing the world we live in. He could get himself in trouble, and he's not necessarily interested in offending people, but he's also not interested in being dishonest and dodging questions. There's time and a place for that answer.
I think that's probably true, and I think you guys do such a great job, and Bob does such a great job every day and it's funny because they asked Mike Adams and I to host 610 last Wednesday, the afternoon show, and we did. And it was on short notice, and so I think I told Scott this too, because we do a 2-hour show on Saturday. And 4 hours, man, at 6 o'clock, I'm kind of like, man, but Mike Adams had such energy that I knew I couldn't slip. So I think with Bob doing that every day, and I called him and left him a message, and I said, 3 hours every day. I don't know how you do that, man, because it's hard. But when you're by yourself.
Sure.
So I think you guys do a great job, and I think he's taught me a whole bunch about being creative, a show map. He's taught me just things to think about and he's very good about sharing things.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing about him, and I listen to him quite a bit as far as where he's been, where he's going, where he's at. I don't think that he ever stands pat and says, I've got it made. He's always looking to get better, and that's one thing that like I said, that I really like about him. Every day it's something new. He's researching, probably as we speak right now. He's he's trying to come up with sound bites, the music. I catch it all, man. And it makes me laugh. And I'll text him.
Well, this guy's the sound bites and the music.
That's your job, Mike.
Yeah,
you do a good job on that.
Well, thank you. We always talk. I mean, there's a bunch of things there. You're right. Bob is preparing. We're getting ready to head over to UNM, catch the Tuesday press conference, get some player interviews for the show this afternoon. But there's a couple of things there. Bob is always willing to live in an environment where we cultivate and we create, and he's willing to let me push the boundaries, kind of get out of a comfort zone of doing things on the traditional sports radio way. But then as far as like the show goes, it's funny because we work together, but we also kind of have these little caveats where we're doing shows within shows, and the music sometimes can be its own little thing, and the sound bites are another layer. We just try to have this big layered cake that's got lots of textures, a little bit of crunch here, a little bit of nice, soft, moist cake here, and we have a good time with it, and we have a lot of fun. But 3 hours every day, especially, we're getting to the part where things are, tailor-made for what we're doing right now. We've got football almost every day of the week. So that's going to give you lots of stories. We've got Lobo football, we've got college football, we have prep football. Over the summers where you really get to kind of get, just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And we had a lot of fun this summer doing that.
Indeed. And, we have a show map here, but usually it's just what segment things are going to run. But Bob's show map, basically, it's a layer of papers. He's got everything, every topic, and it doesn't necessarily have to go in a particular order.
No.
But he's got it right and handy, and he puts a heck of a lot of time into that. And that's one of the things that I told him that I admired about him a few weeks ago when we had him on the show, is the fact that I know personally that takes time.
Sure. I've been very privileged in this business. I've got to work. I spend many hours a day with Bob Brown. I mean, we work 15 hours a week together just on air. That's not including prep time. I've spent a lot of time with you, and I work with the best people in the business. I've gotten to work with Robert Portnoy, and I'm spoiled because I've learned so much from the guys and the gals that I've been around in this business. And I take a little bit of everything from everybody. But Bob's show map is incredible because it's one piece of paper, and then that piece of paper sends him off into this stack of papers or that stack of papers. I mean, watching him, he's physically exhausted when we're done with the show. Both of us are, because we've got mounds and mounds of prep work, and Bob can flip on the fly to a topic here, and I've got to be ready to access some information to either argue his point against him or validate what he's saying. I mean, it's very interesting, and I mean, we have a lot of fun. I mean, there's no way about it. I've got one of the best jobs here in Albuquerque.
And it's always fun going out on remotes also, although you don't get to go.
No, the remotes, that's one of those things that kind of burns up inside of me, because I hear you all enjoying these delicious meals and festivities.
There's
people. I don't believe that for 1 second.
No.
But you get to go and you get to hang out with the listeners, and that's what we do this for, is a service to our community. We're all in this together, is to provide something special and unique and a fun product. And I get to hear the listeners call in and enjoy it, but it's always nice when you can shake somebody's hand and put a face to a voice and recognize that. So that's one of those things where it's fun for me because I get to hang out with you guys on the radio. I always tell you I'll see you on the radio, but I really love the opportunity every now and again to just get out there and hang out.
Well, Mike, in closing, what are your thoughts on what's coming up?
Well, what's coming up, Lobos start football this week on Saturday. We're getting headlong into the NFL. It's just under 2 weeks away now. So it's football, and maybe a little fun in between. And I expect the Lobos, this is going to be a very interesting year for them. Their schedule is going to give them an opportunity to prove whether or not that they are the real deal. I believe that they are. I believe that they're going to have another successful season and make it to another bowl game.
Thank you,
you guys both
coming.
very much. It's my pleasure.
We'll do this again.
Anytime.
He's Mike Burr from ESPN Radio 1017 The Team, and we will come back with more on the Sports Desk.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. So with the big matchup between the El Dorado Eagles
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters! It's like it never happened!
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf dart tag games from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez, joined by Steve Davis here. And Steve, your impressions of week number 1. We talked a little bit off the air on Saturday what a busy week it was. You were kind of unwinding. We were both watching the Saturday game out at Newsenda Community Stadium. Your impressions?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of games, the scores weren't really indicative of the outcome of the game. Does that make sense? Because they're a little bit lopsided. I'm very impressed with the Trisco Heritage, Valley, and also West Mesa. That kind of showed me that district's going to be fun to watch, very competitive, and any team that plays them before districts, they just don't check off a win against these teams because they better come to play.
Yeah, I'm telling you, even though Trisco was outmanned by Manzano, they put up a good effort, and you could tell they're going to be a factor in district.
Well, if you remember from last year, Alvidrez is back, Angel Ramirez. The problem that they had last year was turnovers and penalties. I think when I saw the score and I was watching that, I was like, okay, they hung with them, and then Manzano's firepower overtook Trisco, but don't go to sleep on the Jaguars.
Right.
I like that team, and I liked them last year, but I remember doing games with Coach Ottman, and Coach Ottman would say if they would stop those penalties, because they'd gain 8 up holding, and then they gain 5 offsides, it was maddening, to be honest with you.
Right.
And
Which is unusual for Pat Johnson.
He's an excellent coach.
Usually you have to be
very disciplined.
Very disciplined, and they don't make those mistakes.
I think that triple option with the players that they have, you've got to be disciplined, play your gaps. If not, they're going to rack some yards up. I mean, Angel Ramirez, 215 yards in the first game. This is against one of the top 6A teams.
With a team, with a defensive team that has almost all their defensive.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not like this team was, this was like a veteran team.
They're physical too. And they're hard hitting, so that's another thing to watch out for. Let's take a look at the 6A standings. We'll start with District 1. Week 1 is in. There's only one game in the books, but the District 1 standings look like this. Actually, that's District, well, we'll go with this. We got District 4-1. You got one team with one win.
We're not helping belly out, man. We're just sitting here. We're going to stutter with
Listen, let's go to District 2 and 4A now, as might as well show all of them here since we started. Robertson, St. Mike's, and Taos, along with Santa Fe Indian 1-0. West Las Vegas lost big last week. District 3, as we'll roll through these, and Cobre, along with everyone else in District 3, winless. Let's go to District 4, and you've got Portales, along with Moriarty, Ruidoso, and Hope Christian, all the teams winning. And let's go to 5A, I should say, District 1. So
You have to give me a second because that's all that's on here right now.
So we're trying to figure out what we got here. But anyway, let's go ahead and move forward to the schedule this week. How about we do that? And then if Alden's able to find what we have here, we'll get that going. But we'll go to the schedule in week 2. And right off the top, Steve, you got Cleveland and La Cueva.
Well, you better get out and watch this game. I mean, I guess Cleveland, you expect them to be in the top 2 or 3 every year. I mean, it's just Reinauer and Coach Potter, what they've done in that over the last 10 years. I'm hoping to say 10 years. I don't know if isn't that funny that we even say that Cleveland's been in existence that long. But I tell you, that's the matchup that probably everybody's kind of seeing. Is La Cueva for real? I guess that's the big question mark.
Yeah, well, that will be answered on Thursday against Cleveland, as we have a pretty good idea that Cleveland's for real.
Well, one of the things that Steve mentions now, it's La Cueva's defense, who it's much, and the kid Summer had a great good game at quarterback for La Cueva against the offensive and defensive front of the Cleveland Storm. And I think I undersold that on Friday because their offensive and defensive fronts are so good every year that I think we ignore that because, we think about Angelo Trujillo and Marcus Williams and Gabe Ortega, Sean Nieto, now Isaac Torres. And I'm telling you, it's the line of scrimmage that they dominate every single year. That they've got the guys up front and the coaching, and they just pile drive people. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that game. I want to see what La Cueva's defense is as good as advertised. I really want to see that.
Albuquerque at Valencia, Trisco at Oñate at the Field of Dreams, Del Norte hosting Farmington at Milne, and let's take a look. Well, kind of hard to see there. Let's go to the other games going on. You got El Dorado, Volcano Vista, Valley Sandia, Highland, Belen. That should be interesting. Alamogordo at Los Lunas, Rio Rancho at Americas. You did that game a year ago.
I did, and I tell you what, we talked about this at length. Americas has that game circled. But here's the thing: Rio Rancho's offensive attack is so good that, and it's misdirection here. It's a bubble screen there. I'll tell you, Coach Barrera, the offensive coordinator, I'm very impressed with him. Every game he has a different game plan. And without a running back, though, I wonder if Americas will stack the line, blitz. How will they change the Ram game plan? That's going to be the key to the game to me.
And closing out the week, we got games on Saturday, and you got Las Cruces Cibola at Community. You and I believe, are doing that game, Steve. And then you got Manzano and Centennial.
I just want to go back to the My 50 game. Okay, and that's going to be, help me out, it's going to be
Cleveland?
No, Volcano Vista and El Dorado on Friday night, 7 o'clock. And Sandia Valley is going to be the 26th game.
Nice. So that's a good schedule coming up there. And let's take a look at two games here. And the first one, the game on Thursday, Cleveland at La Cueva. Your thoughts, Steve?
I'm more curiosity of what's going to happen. I want to see, like I said, we know Cleveland, we talked about, Cleveland and Rio Rancho over the last 3 years. And, I think I still didn't look up that stat, but I know Cleveland lost 2 games last year, and Rio Rancho went undefeated in the year before Cleveland. And so anyway, my point here is La Cueva over the hump. That's where I want to see with this game here.
I got news for you, Ed. This game's going to end at around 10:30. 11 o'clock. Look at the yardage. If these teams do that against each other, it's going to be a long night.
And it was funny because Cleveland started out so slow. They started out slow. Here was the key to the game. Now, they're struggling on offense. It's 3rd and 15. They don't convert there. Oñate's going to get the ball back. And it was a strike from Trujillo to Ainsworth for 53 yards. And after that, the floodgates just open. So you're right. They can put those yards on the board. They usually do. La Cueva, the kid Reese Wilkinson, 295 receiving yards. That's a career for some people. So that game there, that game there excites me.
And the other game coming up on Saturday, Manzano against Centennial. These two teams met twice. Centennial came from behind in the first game and won that one down at the Field of Dreams. They met again in November in the Field of Dreams, and Manzano won to move on in the playoffs. And Noah Bartlett, this is kind of a different dynamic. You got dual quarterbacks in Lance Frost and Noah Bartlett, and Frost had 6 carries, 78 yards, 8 receptions, 156 yards, and then you got Bartlett. He's more of the passer. He had 18 of 25, 3 touchdowns, and 2 TD runs.
That's going to be a very interesting game, and Coach Ocampo and Coach Adcock know each other very, very well. Coach Ocampo, the former Manzano coach, and I believe Coach Adcock was in Coach Ocampo's wedding just a couple years ago. So these are two gentlemen that know each other very well.
Well, just go back to last year. The score was, the first half was all Manzano, and the second half was all Centennial. So see if Manzano learned, and Centennial wins the game 24-21, and we'll see what happens here. This is another great game that's going to be put on 26.
Let's talk a little bit about the week. Volleyball starting up this week. And Steve, we got about a minute. Your thoughts just on the week and the week that was.
I'm glad you brought that up. Volleyball starts on it's starting today, I guess. This will be aired today. So, and we don't forget about volleyball. So every Tuesday from the season on, we'll have volleyball, every girls volleyball, and. This year's just, to me, is very exciting because there's really 5 or 6 teams that can compete and win this whole thing.
And I believe,
and maybe even more. So
I believe, if I'm correct, that the sports desk will move back to our traditional Wednesday spot. I think coming forward, and we'll be on Wednesdays. We'll still tape on the same day, but Wednesdays will be the new day, and we're back in new season mode because there's a lot of games on Tuesday, especially volleyball.
Well, there's not a lot of games on a Wednesday, so that's where it's we'd like to keep things simple and
so just want to make sure that people know when to find us and the Steve Davis Show on Wednesdays here. Moving forward after this week, we'll be back in our traditional seasonal mode during the actual season. So Steve, final thought.
Well, I'll tell you what, great sport. Come get out and support. If you want to help APS and Rio Rancho and Los Lunas and those, get out there and support them. And then the games you can't see, come watch it on Proview Networks.
Absolutely. Can't wait for another week. It's week 2, and it's a very exciting week coming up.
He's Ed Nunez, the man to my right, Steve Davis, Alden Iowani, along with Josh Brown. Thanks to them for producing and directing our show. And until next week, I'm Scott Glutty. We'll see you on the Sports Desk.